Every day you probably have 1,000 different things you have to worry about, whether they be good things for you or bad things for you. And the reason why you can't focus on something in specific, for example, maybe it's your religion, maybe it's you in prayer, is because you're constantly preoccupied with all these different things. So this is something I've always had a problem with, which is basically not being fully focused on Islam and your development in Islam. For example, not being focused in prayer, not being focused on your habits, right? Habits like memorization or gaining knowledge. It's just hard to keep consistent on them. And what I've learned is the only real way to be able to break free from this lack of focus and actually regain that focus is to cut out the other, junk and useless stuff in your life. And a lot of times, you don't even realize what it is because we as Muslims know that we should be avoiding the haram stuff, but it's a lot of times the permissible stuff, right? Like the stuff that you are allowed to do, not haram, it's halal, but that still have an effect on your iman because they constantly distract you, right? You constantly have them on your mind. And there are a few things that like literally everybody is addicted to nowadays that are going to destroy your focus and are really going to hurt your iman and your development in your religion. You'll notice you probably are addicted to, or at least have a really strong attachment to a lot of the things I'm about to mention. And for you to truly develop in Islam and, increase your iman, maybe start focusing in prayer and getting into these good habits, you're going to need to at least cut away most of these things. The first habit that's distracting you from Islam is constantly checking news, updates, social media, things like that. Because if you think about it, right, a lot of our time on social media is spent just checking up on random news, whether that be politics, whether that be whatever person XYZ is doing. A lot of the stuff is completely useless to our lives. Now, this also includes entertainment media like TikTok, YouTube. How many people do you know are completely addicted to those things and they watch them too much? In fact, there's a good chance that you are probably addicted to YouTube or you just binge watch YouTube too much. And that's a problem because it's not just, wasting time. It's that time you spent thinking of it and having the desire to watch YouTube. Because see, now when you're bored, you're not going to automatically default to having the desire to do good things and productive things. Instead, you're going to have the desire to watch more YouTube, watch more TikTok. And that's where the real danger in this lies. Once you put a little bit of YouTube in your life, you're going to have the desire to watch more and more and more. The reason why is because YouTube gives you more dopamine than doing work, right? Actually focusing on something productive. So you're just going to automatically want to do the thing that gives you the most dopamine with the least amount of work. And I guess, that's just how your brain works. So you're going to automatically default to wanting to watch YouTube or TikTok or go on whatever entertainment media it is. So this is a hard thing to do. I'm not going to lie. This is very hard advice to give, but you actually need to cut out YouTube. Maybe not completely. I mean, completely would be ideal, but 90%, 95%, you need to cut it out because it's not just a waste of time that's a problem. It's the fact that it's constantly going to be preoccupying your mind. And that's where the real dip in focus comes from. Second habit that's destroying you is something that you're probably going to hate. I know a lot of people are not going to like this, but it's playing video games. And this is why I talked about the thing in the beginning where I said it's not just, haram things that are ruining our lives and our focus. A lot of times it's permissible things. Video games are not necessarily haram, most of them, right? But what happens is when you play them, it gives you a sense of progression. This is how most video games work. And the reason why that's bad is because your mind is constantly going to be preoccupied with that video game instead of actually progressing in your goals in real life, in your Islam. I mean, just think back to the last time you played a video game. Even if you played for just an hour or a small amount of time, you probably thought about it for the whole day or at least hours after. And that's where the real problem comes from. It's not just the time wasted. If you want to actually make your life focus, focus on your goals, focus on your religion, focus on your development, then you have to cut out video games because video games are probably the biggest culprit of, preoccupying your mind. Now, the same thing with the first one. This is hard advice to give, right? This is not an easy thing to do, I'm not going to lie. But it's something that honestly you kind of have to do. Even just playing, a lot of people say, I'll just play 30 minutes of video games a day, an hour of video games a day. But it's not, again, right? It's not just the time that's the problem. It's the fact that it's constantly going to be on your mind. That's where the problem lies in. And that's why you have to, in my opinion, cut it out completely. Now, the good thing is it kind of works like an addiction, right? Because a lot of times it is an addiction. When you cut it out at first, it's going to be really hard and you're constantly going to have urges to play more video games, watch social media, whatever it is. But after maybe 3 days, 4 days to a week, those urges are going to mostly go away. And instead, you're going to have urges to actually do productive stuff. At least this is, after completely cutting it out. And maybe after a month or 2 months, you're going to literally feel the same way doing your work as you would playing video games, right? You're going to be happier and you're going to want to do work instead of playing video games. And when you're at that point, it becomes really easy to develop yourself and, increase your iman and do the good habits, basically. And that's basically the point you're trying to strive for. But right now, if you want to quit your addiction to social media, video games, whatever it is, you're going to have to go through a very difficult, maybe 1 week, 2 weeks. But after that, it actually becomes easy. The last thing that's distracting you from Islam is being involved in other people's lives. Now, I guess it's kind of general and broad, and it's similar to what I touched up at first. But a lot of people, maybe people right? Maybe your friends, how many of them constantly just are thinking of other people, thinking of what other people think of them, are constantly, checking up on other people in terms of their news, people that don't even care about them, right? For example, it might be celebrities on social media. Maybe you're constantly checking their news, their updates, information about them, but they don't even care about you, right? They don't even know you. Or it might be a person that's constantly involved in other people's drama, in other people's problems, and other people's lives, and it gives you no benefit, right? This is one of those things that's constantly going to be on your mind, especially, caring about what other people think. If you do something bad and you're involved with people that are going to constantly be on your mind, then that's going to be a problem because you're not going to be able to focus. You're constantly going to be preoccupied with what these people think about you. In the same way you need to let go of social media, YouTube, video games, you kind of need to let go of what other people think of you, of, what you think of other people as well. Because those type of feelings, those type of thoughts about other people, they're not going to serve you, right? When you're too involved in other people's lives, it's just going to put more confusion and put more clutter into your life. So there's no benefit. But basically, my point with this video is that you have to simplify your life. Cut out the clutter, cut out the junk, and that's the way to actually develop yourself and make it easy on yourself to develop.